All right, we are live. Welcome back, you guys, to our daily live feed. We're live both on Instagram and on YouTube. On YouTube, we will be screen sharing. So if you're on Instagram, you can pop on over to YouTube if you'd like to see pictures. It's going to go along with this live feed tonight. Welcome. Say hello when you get on. Help our algorithms with the comments. If you are on YouTube, then make sure you subscribe, like, comment, share, all of that fun stuff. If you turn on notifications, you will get a notification a half an hour before we go live so that you don't forget to jump on. What's up? Welcome, you guys. And as always, if you would like to come work with me, suitsandposing.com is where you have to go. We do hair, makeup, suits and posing, all the fun stuff when it comes to competing. And our last big show of the year is this coming weekend, which is the Virginia Classic, Mid-Atlantic, all that jazz here locally. It's a really long title. They change it every year. It's the Virginia State Mid-Atlantic Coast Classic something. It's a really long one. It's two shows in one. So that's our last big show. And then, obviously we have girls that are competing everywhere else. And we got the Olympia coming up, which we are going to go into the points and how those are kind of stacking up. And spoiler alert, nobody is safe on the points. Nobody, not one person is safe at this point. And I'll show you why. I'm going to give you some scenarios. That could play out in the next 2 weeks. So we only have 2 weeks left of qualifications for this year's Olympia, 2 weeks. So on Thursday, we'll go through the pro list and preview what's coming up this coming weekend. But tonight, we will touch on each show tonight. We're not going to go through all of the top fives, things like that tonight, because we would be here for like 3 hours because there was a lot of shows this weekend and a lot of new winners. So we are going to touch on just each show, like the winner of each show for each division kind of thing. And we will go through the top 5 in Bikini at Rising Phoenix. And then we will go to the points and what I'm talking about with how the points are stacking up for the Olympia qualification series. Okay. So we're just giving it another minute. And as I said, if you're logging on to Instagram, we will be screen sharing over on YouTube. So feel free to jump on over there if you want to see the pictures and all of that. And we'll go from here. All right. I'm going to turn the comments off the overlay off. There we go. So we have a full screen. So as we start with this, before I forget too, Q's Conference Stage live stream tickets as well as full priced in-person tickets are available now. You can get those from the link tree in my bio on Instagram or the description box on YouTube. The link is there for you. Okay, we'll have more stuff coming up soon to preview. We've got the exclusive posing suits for you guys coming up. So we'll be putting that up soon too. These points, yeah, there's nobody safe right now. Nobody. And I'm going to show you a few scenarios that could play out when we get towards the end of this live feed right now. So, all right, let's move into, we're going to look at the Texas State real quick because Julia won it. So, I mentioned that I didn't really see anybody on the list that I thought would beat Julia and the win, and she did. She took a full year off, you guys. I'm sorry, I've got something that's like a hair in my eye or something like that, so it's bugging me. Sorry about that. But yeah, she won this show, so she won her Olympia qualification. We love Julia. I mean, obviously, she's one of our main speakers for Q's Conference Stage pretty much every year. She's a phenomenal athlete, and she's a great ambassador of the sport. And she's just got the most amazing frame. I mean, she really does. And one thing I will also say that I was really super impressed with for her this year was the improvement in her presentation. I have worked with her on her posing in the past, and she was always a little bit more on the military side because she is at, military base and all of that. But she got a lot more flow to her presentation this year, and she just looked phenomenal. She just really owned that stage. So her physique has always been top notch ever since she first started in the pro league, and she's just gotten better over time. but her presentation really went to the next level. So she did phenomenal, and I'm looking forward to seeing how she does at the Olympia. And if you are coming to Cuties Conquering the Stage, you will get to meet her in person. She's an amazing posing coach as well, and an amazing speaker. So y'all are going to get some hands-on experience with her there if you're coming. And if you're not, you can still get tickets. So grab a ticket, right? Yep. She was so fluid. I mean, it was a phenomenal presentation. So really, really good job on that. So let me just pull up a couple of pictures of her shot when she first hits the front of her routine. Let me show the back shot for you. And I got to be honest with you, like, this is my perfect version of figure right here. Like, to me, this is what I think figure should be. Like, she's just really well balanced and well proportioned, and she's not overly conditioned in any area at all. And she's full and she's round and she looks healthy and all those things. Like, this to me looks like an amazing figure look. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this should be the standard, you know? And obviously she was rewarded at this show, so I'm very happy about that. Hoping that she does really well at the Olympia too, because I think she just embodies a really great package for figure overall. So that was what I wanted to cover just on Texas in that regard. Let me, whoops, I hit the wrong button. So like I said, we have a ton of shows to cover tonight and people and divisions. So we will be here all night if I decided to go through everyone. But we are going to go into Spain next. My mouse is being silly tonight too. I'm having all these technical issues. There we go. Okay, so we're not really going to go into anything other than Bikini for Spain because I don't know any of these other competitors. We mentioned this in the preview. I just am not familiar with many of these girls. Once they get here to the States and start competing, that'll be different. But until they do that, again, we just got to not be here for 5 hours going through these shows tonight. So when we look at Bikini, Ivana did win this, and that's what we figured, right? So let's take a look at Allison and Ivana in this particular show. Allison came in second. Now, she's one that has been consistently in first call-outs overseas and here in the States. She's done the Arnold, all of that too. She tends to come in a little bit overly conditioned. She was definitely fuller at this particular show. Let me pull up a front pose for you here. And I do feel like in general, European girls tend to come in a little bit more conditioned than US girls, but this is better. So she kind of calmed her pose down a little bit. She used to pose a little bit more extreme here, but I like the fullness and the roundness that she's got here. She's got some good fullness into the shoulder, some good fullness into the muscle all over the place. Again, that muscle belly just looks really full, which is good. That's what she needs. It's a very healthy look, right? And she's very well proportioned. Her glute pop matches her delt pop here. Really pretty look on her too. She went with a brighter blue suit. She tends to be in a navy blue. This was a better blue. It really popped on her on stage. And she does, like, she has, like, one of the reasons why I think some people have some issues with her posing sometimes is because she has longer limbs. Like, she has longer arms. So they tend to kind of look a little bit too much sometimes. She's definitely calmed that down quite a bit. So she's going in the right direction with all of her presentation details too. So overall, this was a really, really good package for her. Let's pull up a back shot for her as well. Let's see. Got lots of pictures, which is good. Here's a back shot. And her back shot, again, it was much improved too. She wasn't overly pushing and things like that. She still needs to kind of differentiate between like her legs and her glutes kind of thing. I'd like to see more 3D-ness basically with her glutes. And I'd also like to see a little bit, she looks like she's got some trap engagement here. So I'd like to see her kind of fix that a little. It's just a mobility thing. She probably just needs to get that worked out a little so she can pop the delt up. She's good on this side, but this side needs to pop up. But that's kind of normal because if you flipped her to the front, this is the arm that goes on her waistline that pulls around. So that's why she's bent forward here. And that's why this one is fine. This one is fine because this is the arm that's open to the side in her front pose. So that's an imbalance from posing. right? So, you know, again, I'd like to see a little bit more of a, like maybe trim down the leg a little bit just so that the glutes pop a little bit more, or just, you know, pop the glutes a little bit more. But with that said, this is much better. I feel like she still might be overarching a little. She has overarched in the past as well, but I think this is a little bit better than what she was doing. Overall, again, I think she's going in the right direction. I think she's pretty close, but she's still got little fine-tuned tweaks to make, that kind of thing. But again, improved package on her. Let's go to Ivana, who did win this, and we assumed that Ivana was going to be the winner in this particular show. As we know, they love her over there in Europe, and she does pretty well over in the States as well. She wins lots of shows over here too, so I assumed she would take home the win in this particular show, and she did. She did a little bit of a different kind of posing routine than she has in the past, with a kind of a, you can see it here, kind of an alternate pose as her main front pose. Not really thrilled about that, to be honest with you. I don't think it's the most flattering pose on her frame. It just makes her look a little short and stocky. So I would rather see her in her front pose more so than that kind of pose that she did. And there's still just a few little tweaks that need to be made to this front pose. I mean, overall, again, she won the show, so it's not like she's doing badly or anything like that. She looks great. She's got good consistency, all of that. But there's just a few things that she still needs to tweak with this front pose. This arm just has a tendency to come out too far. She needs to let it relax down, and she does still yank up this back shoulder a little bit. So that needs to come down. And this would come down if she would take her hand and just pull her hand down a little bit further on her hip. I tell you guys, if you're one of my posing clients, I tell you guys all the time, I don't want you covering up your belly button. I want to be able to see your belly button. When we cover up that belly button, it's too extreme of an angle here on the arm. So she just needs to relax that down a little bit. And that would also relax her chest. Like you can see, she's really tight in through here. And that's because she's pulling and she's got such an extreme look here. We just want to soften that look. And literally that would just be taking this hand and pulling it down, relaxing it a little bit. That's really the main critique that I have on this front pose for her. And then that would be right where it needs to be. This overall look is very pretty though. She's got a very clean look. I mean, again, she's very consistent with what she does. This is again, nice and full and round. So these are the good things about that I just like to see these arm positions change a little bit on her frame. Old habits die hard, right? Let's look at her back shot here. It's going to take me a minute to get around to her back shot. She did a lot of little in-between movements. Okay, there we go. Okay, so again, back shot, needs to trim that hair. Still needs to trim that hair. We're missing the top pop of her glute because we're covering it up with hair. Trim that hair. Trim it. Just an inch. Trim an inch off there so that way we can see the top of that pop. Because again, she's one of these ones that has a little bit of an overarch to her. So we lose some of that pop because she's arching a little bit too much and because she has a little bit too much hair. So I'd just like to see that hair go away. And I'd like to tweak this back pose a little bit. I'd like to see the back pose before we actually, made the tweaks, that kind of thing. But I think if she stood up a little bit more, she looks like she's pinching a little bit through her upper body here. She could open this up a little bit more, just relax that arch in the lower back just a touch. And I think that would probably round her out quite a bit. So again, these are just tiny little details in her posing. That I think if she was to just adjust these things a little bit more, I think she would round out just a little bit more too, right? I do like the straight hair on her. I think it's a cleaner look, but at the same time, she just needs to trim it so that it's not covering her glutes up. All right. Now I wanted to show this as well because we're going to talk about a couple of these girls in a minute. Okay. Couple of girls for Olympia on points are Stein Hansen or Stein, don't know how to pronounce it, and Esther here, these two girls. Okay, so remember those two names. We are going to come back to them because they are in the points hunt right now. Okay, so remember them. All right, so let's move over to, I did want to just show the winner of wellness as well. Again, I don't know these girls, so I don't want to spend a lot of time going through the whole lineup because we'll be here forever. But I wanted to show your winners, at least in wellness here too. Here we go. Where's a good front pose? That's a good front pose. Let me see. I'm happy to be your posing coach, Karen. Happy to be your posing coach. Okay, so that's interesting. She's got a little bit of an eye thing going on in that one. There we go. Okay, there we got our eyes open. Okay, so I gotta be honest. I think this is a really good wellness frame. And again, she's not overly conditioned. I think this conditioning is actually pretty good. Like the same thing I said about Julia. I like how round and full she looks. To me, this is a really good wellness front pose. This is a really good overall look, overall balance. I like it a lot. Waistline's nice and tight. She has no distension or anything like that going on here. Her quads are nice and full. And her upper body does not overpower her lower body at all. I think this is a very good front pose and a very good look overall for wellness. Let's find a back pose here. So the back pose, again, she could use a little bit of a tweak on the back pose. So see this a lot in wellness. She's just bending a little too much. Okay. She's round and she's full through those glutes and stuff, but she's pushing just a little bit too hard. I'd like to see her stand up just a little taller. I'm also not a huge fan of the hair covering the glutes in wellness either. So I'd like to see her stand up just a bit taller, but overall, I think she's got pretty good balance from the back. I'd just like to see a little bit of a taller stance on that back pose. And I think that would actually make her glutes look a little bit better here too. But yeah, actually very competitive look. I like this look a lot. And again, not overly conditioned. She is very conditioned, but not to the point where we're seeing like really hard lines and things like that, right? So I actually really like this look on her. Let's go back to this show. And let's pull up figure 2. Now, I wanted to show this girl because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think she's 22. I think she's only 22. Ridiculous frame. You know, like that's ridiculous. But this is where I'm talking about the overly conditioned aspect. See the feathering in the quads? I don't think that that's appropriate in figure. I don't want to see feathering in the quads. I don't want to see that hard, that much conditioning, right? We see striations in the shoulders, that kind of thing too. You know, when you look at her in comparison to what we were looking at with Julia was nice and round and full. And personally, I like that look better. This look to me is just too much. So if I don't know what her feedback was or anything like that, but if I was, you know, advising her going into the Olympia, I would pull that down just a little bit and just fill out because I just think that's too much. That's really dry and grainy. Again, crazy shape, crazy frame. And I think she is only, she's only 22, if I'm not mistaken. I think she's only 22 years old. Let's look at a back shot. Well, she doesn't have a full figure pose back. Women's physique. This is women's physique. I agree. She doesn't have a full-on figure back pose either, which I'm not a huge fan of either. If you're figure man, you should be doing a full figure back pose. Don't be doing women's physique poses. That's a personal pet peeve. So she's kind of in a back pose here, but she's in the middle of going out, and then she goes out into a wide stance. It's not an actual figure back pose, which again, I'm not a fan of. Like, it's okay if you hit those poses as transitional poses and things like that. But if you're figure, I want to see an actual figure back pose, right? But yeah, ridiculous conditioning. Like you can see it here. And she's not even fully posed. I mean, you can see how diced she is through her hamstrings and the striations and the glutes and everything too. Let me see if there's another one that I can show you. Yeah, she's doing all these like almost, you know, women's physique poses. So yeah, let me show you this one. So that to me again is just too much. It's bordering. It's women's physique in heels basically on the conditioning aspect, right? So I just like to see that softer. And again, I like the full softer look of Julia, I think that's the better look of the two. You know, and we're talking about top people at the Olympia and things like that too. You know, there's going to be a lot of Olympia qualified athletes that are going to be close, but not quite in the top range. And Julia has always been like, she's either, you know, she's bordering that top 10 always. So, you know, we talk about this with Bikini too. They always look for down the middle. And at the Olympia, you're going to see all the girls that are down the middle and not overly anything, right? So she was the best that day. And again, she, yeah, 22. She's only 22 years old. She's very young. But what I would say is she just needs to fill out. She needs to fill out so she doesn't get striated and all of that. And that's my own personal assessment. The judges could have thought differently. So, but that's just what I think. I think we covered everybody on this show. So we're going to move over to Rising Phoenix. Okay, so same thing over here. We're going to just touch on the top people. Renee Harshey did win this. Again, when it comes to this particular show, it wasn't super deep as far as number of competitors. Oh, I know which show I forgot is the Clash. Hold on. Before I go into this one, let's go into the Clash too. Hang on. I gotta find it real quick. I thought I pulled it up. I knew I was missing something. It's NPC. I don't want NPC. Hold on. I gotta find it real quick. Give me a second to pull up the Clash. I thought I had it pulled up, but I guess I didn't. Featured. Here it is. Okay. So before we get into Rising Phoenix, let's go to Clash, which was 10 ladies deep. We talked about the ones we thought would be probably up towards the top. Priscilla ended up in 4th. I had her as my odds-on favorite to win, and she did not. Marina was one from, we saw her in Mexico. She did well there. Jennifer Scarborough Zolaris, she just won her pro card at USA. She won the overall there. And Joy was 2nd in Mexico. So she took home the win here. So overall, I think the main thing that she's going to need to work on between now and the Olympia is going to be her posing. She just looks a little bit awkward in the poses. Like this front pose just looks a little awkward to me. Looks a little uncomfortable. You know, she's in the quarter turns and things like that. They all just look a little bit uncomfortable. Like she's really pushing a lot and trying to show more shape to her lower half. If I'm not mistaken, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I think she came from figure. But if you look at her quarter turns here, like I said, she's really exaggerating that push, right? And she needs to work on just looking a little bit more relaxed, I would say, to really show her full shape a little bit better. Like this is like she's almost bent over, right? This is something I tell you guys when I'm posing you for bikini. I don't want to see all your weight on that back foot. She's putting a lot of weight on that back foot. So I just like to see her stand up tall here and see what she has as far as a full quarter turn versus that bent over look. Let's pull up a back shot. So on the back shot, when you take a look at this, again, she's bent over too much. Again, bending too much. And when she bends a lot in that back pose, it really squishes her glutes down. If she was to stand up a little bit more, I think her glutes would fill out a bit. But you can really see on this particular pose that her legs are way overpowering her glutes. She's got like wellness legs and then bikini glutes, right? So she needs to get those glutes to fill out. She's got to grow some more there. And again, I think she came from figure, which would make sense as to why she needs to pull those up. Her lower half of her body just overall just needs to come up quite a bit. She's gonna, she's going to the Olympia, so that's great. She's qualified for the Olympia now, so that's awesome. But some of the things that you can do between now and the Olympia are going to be posing tweaks. Maybe fill the glutes out a little bit. It's going to be hard to grow anything between now and the Olympia. But she could probably get a little bit more balanced looking just by standing up, not only in her back pose, but also her quarter turns too. Conditioning is good. And, again, if she came from figure, then conditioning shouldn't be a problem, right? But she just needs to kind of reshape her frame a little bit when it comes to now being in wellness. Like when she's just relaxed, like when she did this turnaround from the walk to the back and she's just relaxed and standing there, she looks so much better. This is a much better look than when she's like over posing in her poses, right? She's in mid turn right here. And this is so much better. Sometimes I tell you guys like you're over posing, you're trying too hard kind of thing. So I feel like that's what she's kind of doing in her poses. But when she's just relaxed and going through these transitions, she looks 1,000 times better. So that would be my suggestion, is just kind of tweak the posing a little bit and just look a little bit more relaxed, right? When she gets up on stage for the Olympia. But congratulations to her for qualifying. So that's awesome. And then let's move to, now we can move over to Rising Phoenix. Okay, so let's start with Wellness and Rising Phoenix. So we've got Renee Harshey won this. And again, the same critiques that I've had with her before. She's got a beautiful look. She's a beautiful girl. Conditioning was great. Shape, overall, I just think she's too balanced. I think she looks like a bigger version of Bikini, personally. So that's going to continuously be my critique until this shape changes a little bit. Again, overall, it's a really pretty look. She's a pretty girl. The blue suit and the blue look on her is beautiful. Her posing is okay, but I think she looks like a bikini girl. She looks like a bigger bikini girl to me. I don't see that round fullness that we see in a lot of girls on their quads and things like that. I just see a bikini girl that's grown, right? So that's going to be my critique on her until that changes. Basically, that's been my critique on her for the last few shows. But she was definitely the best competitor here at this particular show that day. Let's turn her to the back here so you guys can see a back pose. And again, she's another one who I think is just pushing a little bit too hard on her back pose. Stand up just a touch more, and that would fill her glutes out a little bit more for her. I think that would be a better look for her. But her shape from the back is absolutely wellness. It's absolutely 100% wellness. It's just when she's in those front poses and those quarter turns that I say, oh, she just looks like a more muscular bikini girl, So it just needs to refine a few of those things and probably grow a little bit more in her lower half. I think she's always going to get a look no matter what show she's in, because she is a beautiful girl. She has a beautiful look. But I just like to see her look more wellness than look like a big bikini girl, basically, a muscular bikini girl. But again, that's her second win in a row. So that's good momentum for her going into the Olympia. Let me see if I can find one more front shot of her. There's a lot of her walking. Let's see. She does the side pose a lot. I'm trying to see if there's one. I don't even see a front pose in her individual here. Maybe I missed it. She does it with her hands on her hips. I think she knows her strengths and her weaknesses really well. She walks with her hands on her hips, which would indicate she probably thinks her waistline's a little bit thick from the front. Totally fine. Give that illusion. Yeah, I don't see her posing in the actual front pose. It's all quarter turns. When she goes into the front pose, oh wait, here's one. I missed it. There we go. I thought I saw her. There we go. So yeah, so you can see here, I mean, that's why she walks with her hands on her waistline, because she does look pretty thick through the waistline when she's straight on to the front. So that makes sense. I mean, this is what we talked about with your posing. You want to make sure that you cover up your weaknesses, right? So she walks up to the front of the stage like this, with her hands on her waistline. So it works for her. And that's also why she's not hitting that front pose a whole lot, and she's hitting the quarter turns, right? Because she looks a lot better in the quarter turns than she does when she's straight on like this, right? So that's somebody who understands what she looks like when she's in a good spot, when she's not, right? So yeah, so congratulations to her. Again, beautiful look, just needs to keep growing that lower half, in my opinion. Let's go back. We are going to talk about Autumn, who won figure. So Autumn has been competing legitimately all year long, like all year long, and she won finally. So she's been in that points race this whole time, and she finally was able to pull a win out. So I think everybody was really happy to see that with her. She's one that has a really great presentation as well. Let's see, let me pull up a good. There's a few girls in figure that pose very, very well, like we were talking about with Julia. And she's one of them too. She poses very well, has a very smooth presentation. I mean, the fact that she's been competing all year helps too. That definitely helps her with the practice and all of that. I think one of the things that she probably gets critiqued on is she's a bit blocky. You know what I mean? So from the front, she doesn't have that V-in waistline quite so much, but her conditioning looks pretty solid from top to bottom here. Sometimes I have seen pictures of her where she's a little bit soft in the legs or soft the waistline where she's blown out for the waistline, things like that. I don't see that here. I think her conditioning is pretty solid from top to bottom. But she's just not, she doesn't have that V-in waistline like we saw in Julia, right? Let's see. Let me pull up a back pose of her. And even when we're looking at her from the side, I'll share this. When we're looking at her from the side in these model turns, again, her waistline's just not very tiny. So it doesn't give that illusion of that really etched in, martini glass look, like we saw from Julia, right? But again, she's always in the mix. She's always in that top 4, top 5, usually top 2. She's just outside of that winner circle until here. And I believe this was her first pro win ever, if I'm not mistaken. I believe this is her first pro win ever. And again, I felt like every week I was seeing her go to a new show. So that just shows you how resilient she is and tenacious. You know what I mean? She's not giving up. So you can't help but like that kind of thing in a person, that quality in a person. And I think everybody was pretty happy to see her win and nail her qualification here. Let's get her into a back pose. Lots of pictures to roll through here. So we'll show this one here. So again, I like her conditioning. Like I said, the girl from the Spain show, I felt like was over conditioned. This to me is not overly conditioned. She's well balanced in her conditioning from top to bottom. She looks the same on the top of her frame as she does on the bottom of her frame. And you don't see those really hard, lines in through her glutes and hamstrings and stuff like that. So for me, I do like this look better for a figure than what we saw over in Spain. So same thing as Julia, the round fullness, conditioned, but not overly conditioned, right? Autumn has, I'll have to check that out. I haven't seen, does she have a YouTube channel? I haven't seen her channel, so I'll take a look at it. But yeah, like I said, she's a very tenacious competitor. And so like, I think people just really are drawn to that and love that about her. So they were really happy to see her get that win. I believe she's been doing it. I think I saw a post where she's been bodybuilding for like 20 years or something like that, something crazy like that. So congratulations to her qualifying for the Olympia. Let's go back. And now let's get into Bikini. So she was not on our initial list, so she wasn't in our preview. Actually, I saw her log on Instagram. I don't know if she's still there. Jordan, say hi if you are still there, and I'll bounce stuff off of you as we're going through this. But that is that. If she was on the list initially, I think we probably all could have guessed that she would win this show, right? I don't think she was. Okay, got it. All right. I'm looking at your comment about autumn. Okay, cool. But other than that, this pretty much played out how we thought it was going to play out. Now, and actually, I just saw Michelle Hirsch just popped up on Instagram here. So if you're watching, I was going to start with you on this particular lineup because I did mention her in our preview going into this show and said that this could be a show where she could potentially get up into the open and make some noise because she tends to win the 40 and over masters categories and things like that. And she did. She made it into first call out here and ended up sixth. So Michelle, if you're still on the live over here, congratulations on your sixth place in open and also on your win in 40 and over too. So let me just pull up a quick photo of her. And if you're on Instagram, I'm showing pictures over on YouTube. So you can jump on over there if you'd like to see photos. But she's had a pretty great season herself. I think I saw her post that I think she had 6 pro wins this year, if I'm not mistaken. So congratulations to her. And like I said, that's pretty cool. Like this is something we talked about in the preview, that this would be an opportunity for her to get up into those placings at this particular show. And she did. So congratulations to her on that. And again, over 40. So that's cool. Always cool to see. Let's pull up the back shot for you. Here's one. There you go. So not bad for that that over 40 there, right? So to me, this is where she always wins these shows personally. So great look from the back. Really, really great look from the back. So congratulations on that. Let's move to 5th place, which was Marissa. And this is one that we mentioned could get into that top 5. I believe this is like 2nd pro show, if I'm not mistaken, 2nd or 3rd. Might be 3rd. She's been doing well. She's been getting into those top 5 spots. First call outs. Again, she's one that we've talked about before, and she looks great from the front, really balanced from the front. She's a little bit softer here, I think, than she was in the last show. But that could just be because she's been competing back to back and maybe a break. But again, beautiful look from the front. I'd like to see her open up a little bit more on this particular front pose, but this could just be like an in-between shot too. There's 1,000 shots these girls. So it could be just one where she's not fully posed. Yeah, that's about her right here. But her critique is the same. She just needs some upper glute here. You can see it from the front. She needs to pop this upper glute up a little bit. And then if we look from the back, let's find a back shot. See, like I said, there's 1,000 photos of each of these girls on here. So, so there's her back shot right here. So again, where she needs to grow is that upper glute right here. Now she's also pitched forward a little bit in this upper body. So I'd probably work on that, pulling the elbows down a little, bring the hands down a little. That'll pull the elbows down. That'll help the shoulders pop from the back a little bit more. But really where she needs to grow is just this upper outer glute area, just to balance her frame out. But again, good showing here. See a little bit of tanning issue. I saw that on quite a few girls at this show, actually. The tan's just a little bit splotchy through here. So that's something to watch too, because it definitely shows. Okay. Let's go to Chantel. So this is one that I'm not familiar with her. We didn't have her in the predictions because I'm not familiar with her. Looking at her placings here. Yeah, she's really not had very good placings in the past. Not terrible, but not great placings in the past. So this was kind of a, came out of nowhere kind of thing for her. Let's show this. And I do think a lot of these girls, like the lighting of this particular show made them look a little bit softer. But what I would say here, she's a little washed out through the waistline. And needs a little bit more of this shoulder cap here. Like she's really upper body. She's got good upper body, but she needs to kind of push and tilt this back a little. Let this arm relax a little. You can see she's got a little bit of a skin thing right here, and that's because she's not tilting back on this lower back here enough. So if I was her posing coach, I would tell her she needs to tilt her pelvis a little bit more here. That would fix this pose for her if she was to tilt this back. That would probably help her upper body, kind of her shoulder round out, that kind of thing too. She just needs to push back a little bit on that pose. Let's find a back shot of her. There we go. Okay, so from the back, she's got great glutes. Great glutes from the back. Great lower half there. I would say maybe she needs to fill out a little bit through the shoulders. Like I said, from the front, like the same thing from the front. You would see from the front, she was lacking a little bit in the shoulders. And now you can see it from the back here too. But really good glutes. Really, really good glutes. Really good look with the glutes. Good suit cut, rounds them out nicely. So this is actually really good from the back. Deanna is next up, which we assumed would be in the top call out, and she was. Again, nothing. I'm not going to say anything different from what I've said before. I think she just needs to add a layer of muscle all over the place for her. She's got that tiny little waistline, but she's kind of sucked in here through that rib cage. I think she's just at the point now where she needs to take a break. You know what I mean? Needs some more size, just overall needs a layer of size on her frame. Just needs a layer of size on her frame. She's got an amazing frame to build on. She just needs to build it, right? And I think just doing show to show to show to show, that'll start whittling you down as well. And I can understand why she would want to do this, because she is getting in that top call out. So it's hard when you're in the top call out to just, give up and say, no, I'm done. You know what I mean? When you're that close. She does have great glutes from the back, great structure overall. Structure is phenomenal. She has phenomenal structure, and she has these amazing long drops in her hamstrings, everything like that. She just needs to fill out her frame some more, just another layer of muscle. If she does that, she's going to look phenomenal. So she just needs to take some time to build. And instead of being in that fourth place spot, she'll get up into those top 2 spots, right? So let's go to Lana. So Lana came in second. So this is like a repeat of Legends, right? She came in second here. And we're going to talk about Lana in a minute when we go into the points and how the points are adding up now towards the people that are going to qualify through points. But let's take a look at Lana. And again, I'm probably going to give the same critiques. These are the same girls we've seen several times over the last few weeks. And she just needs another layer of muscle, really. These pictures aren't catching her fully posed. So I'm wondering if she kind of went through her transitions a little bit through her poses too fast. Because I don't have a full on pose shot here for her front pose, if you take a look here. So maybe when she comes back around to the front, there's one. So let's take a look at that. Like I said, same thing I've said about her in the past. I don't have anything else to add to this. She just needs to add another layer of muscle. This is about what she looks like every time she gets on stage. And she's going to be competitive in every show she gets into. And she's got a great look and everything like that too. She's just got to build. Like, she needs some more upper and outer glute. Just needs some more shoulders, that kind of thing, just to get this frame to really pop out a little bit more. And again, her look is phenomenal. Her presence is phenomenal, all of that too. So she's always going to be in the mix. But once she gets that extra layer of muscle on top, she's going to be really hard to beat at that point. Let's see if we can get a good front shot of her before we move on. Those other ones were all in between poses. Here's one. Here's a good front shot. So again, I have the same critiques. Like I said, like this hand right here needs to come down a little bit. Overall, the pose is really nice, but she just needs specifically some more size up here on the shoulder to pop that out a little bit. If she can get some more width up here, that's going to make her waistline look a little bit smaller, and overall just going to pop her frame a little bit better. But she just needs another layer of muscle on top of everything that she's got. And again, that'll just make her really, really hard to beat at that point. She's real close, real close. So we are going to move on to our winner of the show, which is Jordan. And I don't think she's on Instagram anymore. She did pop on for a minute. I saw her for a second, but I don't think she's on there anymore. But Jordan did win this show. So this is her 5th win going into the Olympia. Again, great momentum. I think it was a smart move for her to jump into this show. I don't know if this was something that was planned and she just wasn't on the pro list when it came out, or if she just decided to do it because she was ready. But always a good idea if you feel like you're ready to go into a show before the Olympia and get more momentum, right? So again, going back into what we talked about before, there's not a whole lot else I have to say other than she's just got a really great shape, frame, and look. She's found her look. She's nailed it. She's nice and full. She's in good condition. Her waistline is super tiny from the front. Great look overall from the front. A really, really good front pose. Let's take a look at her back. And with going into the Olympia with, 5 wins, that gets you talked about, right? Yeah, when you look at her glutes, it's going to be hard to beat that. I do believe when we start getting into these predictions for Olympia and stuff like that, that she could be a potential threat for a top 5 spot. I do think she's going to get in the top 10. I do think that she's a potential top 5. I would like to see her fighting in that first call out. And I think she's going to give some people a run for her money because, again, we're talking about shape, look, and conditioning. Her conditioning is right where it needs to be. It's not over the top. We're not seeing those diced in hamstrings, but she's round, she's full, all of that. This is what bikini should look like, right? From the front and from the back, not over the top on anything. Okay. Just good all the way around, right? Down the middle, all the way around. That's what she's got, right? So, I think we're going to see her shake some things up at the Olympia this year for sure. So again, congratulations on yet another win here for Jordan. And she would have been my pick if she was on the list, but she wasn't on the list. So now that we've gone through those shows from this weekend, we're going to talk about the points for a minute. This is coming down to the last 2 weeks of points, right? So when you look at the points system here, we've got basically these 4 girls right here in the hunt, plus Jessica, because she is competing this weekend too. So it's really going to come down to these last 5 girls and these last 2 weekends of shows, which all of these girls, except for Jody, are competing in, right? So nobody at this point is safe, not even Jody. And the reason why is because one of the shows this coming weekend is Romania Muscle Fest, which is a tier 3 show, which means if you don't win it, you get more points. Okay. Everybody here, except for Jody, is competing this coming weekend. So depending on how this weekend works out, this could really shake things up. Okay. So I plotted out one particular potential so you can just see how quickly this all could flip-flop. Okay. All right. So I plotted this out a little bit. So these are your leaders, right? And like I said, Jessica is competing this weekend too in Romania. So we've got Jody with 30 points, Stein with 27, Lana with 26, and Esther with 24. This weekend, Romania is a tier 3 show. Sacramento is a tier 4. And Lana is in Sacramento, which means that there are less points available to win in Sacramento. There's more points available in Romania. Okay, so what I did just for sake of argument as one of the possible scenarios this weekend, let's say that none of these girls win. You know, if one of them wins, if one of the girls wins, then they're out of the point system anyway, and that will bump everybody up one spot. Okay. But if they don't, so this is the next best scenario if they don't win. Okay. So if Lana comes in second in Sacramento, then she's going to get 4 points, which would put her at 30. Right. Let's say that Stein does not win and she takes third. I have her in third right here. She would get 4 points and she would be at 31. She's just leapfrogged over Jody at this point. Right. And say that Esther doesn't win. She takes second. Well, that would put her at 29 points. So you see what I'm saying right here? So now if this was how this played out, let's just say this is how this played out, then at this point, Jody, Stein, and Lana would be qualified. Those three would be qualified and Esther would not be. Okay. I didn't put Jessica in there because she is significantly lower in the points here, but she's not out of the race. Okay. She's significantly lower in the points than the other 5 girls I have up there. 4 girls I have up there. But if she gets a second place or something, she automatically bumps up 5 points. Now she's in the mix, right? So, or maybe she'll win. She could win. And then if she wins, then the other 4 girls are still fighting. So let's just say that that's how this plays out. Well, guess what? Now they still got one more weekend left. And there's one more weekend where you've got Atlantic Coast, you've got Hawaii, and you've got Denmark. So all of these girls have another opportunity next weekend. Okay. So this whole time I've been saying that Jody's safe. Well, Jody's not safe at this point. Right. So let's just say that this is how this plays out, right? This coming weekend. Let's just say how this plays out. If that happens, then next weekend, all of these girls, if I was them, would jump into these shows next weekend. Right? Because at that point, you have to, right? You got one more weekend left to qualify. You've got 3 more shows left to qualify. So let's say they all jump in, and again, none of them win, and they got to get points, right? Well, at this point, let's say that Lana takes second at Atlantic Coast. Let's say she takes second there. Now she's at 4 points, right? Stein, again, let's say she doesn't win. She takes second. She's at 35 points. Let's say that Esther, and I just have them both saying they take second, because who knows, one of them could take second, the other would take third or whatever. But that puts them all over that 30-point range. They're all in, and then Jody would be out. Jody, who's been sitting at 30 points, would be out. So my point is, Jody, if you're listening to this, jump into a show in the next 2 weeks. You know, if it plays out this weekend that, you know, the points all get kind of mixed up and they don't play out like this, because that probably won't play out like this. That probably won't happen. I just put this as one scenario. But if I was Jody, I'd be sitting there saying, okay, if these girls all get points this coming weekend, I better go jump into probably Atlantic Coast. Right? Because we thought all year long at 30 points, you would assume that Jody is going to get into the Olympia, right? But if it plays out like this or something like this, a derivation of this, Jody's not safe. So at this point, nobody in that top 5 range here is out, and nobody is in either. Questions on that, you guys? Does that make sense? These next 2 weeks are going to determine who gets the top 3 spots. And hey, any one of them could win in the next 2 weeks. Any one of them could win, and then, or any 2 of them could win. Actually, any 4 of them could win. And it could change everything completely if they all win, you know. But if they don't, this is how this can play out. You know, technically we could have 4 new winners. I don't think that's going to happen. But technically we could, and it could be 4 of these girls, or 5. Could we have 5? If one of the girls from over in Europe comes over to the States, we could have 5. But I don't think that's going to happen. So, questions, you guys? It's coming down to the nitty gritty. Coming down to the nitty gritty. So with that, like I said, you know, the fact that Lana did jump into this last show was smart, because, you know, that gives her points. Literally exactly what I told Jared. Jody better jump on stage real quick, right? Yeah, exactly. So, it was smart that Lana did this last show, because if she didn't, she could very well have been bumped out in the next 2 weeks. But if I was Jody, I'd be sitting there ready to go next week if need be. Right? Because when we get into previewing this weekend shows on Thursday, you're going to see we already have girls that are in those shows that have won shows this year. So you got to be ready. It's coming down. It's going to come down to legitimately the final show. It's going to come down to the final show. So, 100%. Yep. So, like I said, Jody, if you're out there listening to this, make sure you're sitting there ready to go next week. Make sure you're sitting there ready to go, just in case. And I'm sure she probably is. I'm sure this is not news to her, right? This is not news to her. I'm sure she's ready. Like, has probably been watching the points list climb like this, right? So it could be an interesting couple of weeks. Jody's a machine. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she did a ton of shows this year, so I would not be surprised. Hey, I wouldn't be surprised if she jumped into a show this weekend. She could still do that. She could still just decide to jump in. She could jump into Sacramento if she wanted to. But if I was a betting woman, I would guess she'd be getting ready for Atlantic Coast next week. That's what I would guess. If I was her, I'd probably do it anyway, just for peace of mind, right? So yeah, it's going to be an interesting last 2 weeks of this qualifying series, which, can you believe we're down to the last 2 weeks? Yeah, we're down to the last 2 weeks. So, keep things interesting. Keep watching those, keep watching the points, keep watching what's going on, because I'll be interested to see what happens. But, like I said, it was smart for Alana to go into these shows and not stop, and just assume that she was going to get in on points, because these points are getting super tight. Like I said, this whole time, I thought that Jody was going to be safe. We all said Jody's safe. Jody's safe. She's not safe. She's not safe. So, Jen, you get in the mix with all the season finales. Yeah, she does. Absolutely. Yep. So, and this is the thing, you guys. This is why I don't like the point system. I don't like the point system at all. I think the points should just go away completely. Like, you either win a show or you don't get in, because it's just so stressful. Like, as a competitor, that's a stressful place to be in. And I know, because I've worked with a few of these girls that have been on the points fighting list for the last few years. And it's a very hard place to be in mentally and physically. Physically, it's a hard place to be in too, but mentally, it's a very hard place to be in, not knowing what's going on up until the final week, right? So it'd be one thing if it was like a lottery or something, but it's not. It's putting your body through all this physical torture, right? So with that, tomorrow night we will be on with another live. Tomorrow night we're going to talk about some of the questions that I got in today on my stories, as far as what people would like to see change in the upcoming year, as far as criteria, qualifications, all those kinds of things. Got some good answers that came in. So I'm going to go through a few of those and kind of talk about why it would be a good thing or not a good thing if they change this or change that, in my opinion. I've been around the block a few times and I understand how this business works. So I have a few insights that you guys might not know. And so I'd like to share some of those things on why I think some changes would be good and why I think some changes would not be good. So we're going to go through some of that stuff tomorrow. And then on Thursday, we will preview this coming weekend's shows. And we will be, like I said, we'll be here at the Virginia NBC show here in Virginia on Friday, Saturday. So, yeah, busy week this week. So hope you guys have had a great week so far. We've been getting ready over here for Cuties Conquering the Stage. Of course, we are working on that nonstop up until January. So like I said, there is tickets available at full price if you click the link in the description box, or our link tree on Instagram. We also have live stream tickets available for Cuties Conquering the Stage 2. And as I've mentioned before, our live stream for Cuties is interactive. So we have actual hosts on our live stream. You'll be able to chat in, ask questions of the speakers at the time while we're there, all of those kinds of things. So it's not just a watch, it's a participate kind of live stream. So it's a little bit different. And the girls always kind of bond together and that kind of thing on the live as well. So that's pretty cool. I think that's everything. I think I went through everything. For those of you that are competing this weekend in Virginia here, I did send out hair and makeup schedules today. I think everybody has responded. There might be like one girl that hasn't responded back, but the hair and makeup schedules did go out. So we'll be set on that. I will be singing again. They asked me to sing the national anthem again, so I'll be there. I'll be there singing again. Now I'm roped into this every time. I actually enjoy it. It's fun. I don't sing very much anymore, so it's a fun thing to do now. So that's it. And I'm not going to go into all the difference between the tier 1 and tier 3 and tier 2, tier 4 shows right now. That's a whole live feed in and of itself. So with that, I hope you guys have had a great week so far. I'm going to let y'all go. And I'm going to go eat because that's what I do as soon as I get off my live feeds every time with you guys. And that's it. I'm going to end out on Instagram first. Good night. And then YouTube.